back to the channel, and today we have a very special comparison between three different dual blade style Telecaster bridge pickups. The Seymour Duncan Hot Rails, which you will find in my beloved black Telecaster, which I've had over 20 years. This is, by the way, a high output ceramic magnet humbucker all the way, not meant to sound like a single coil, aggressive pickup. We also have the legendary Joe Barden Danny Gatton model bridge pickup in this guitar, also the neck pickup, but we're just going to talk about the bridge one today. It is more vintage in sound and output, but it is also obviously a dual blade humbucker. And we also have, if you've been watching my Upgrading a Bullet Telecaster series, the DiMarzio Chopper T. And it, I think, at least in terms of tech specs, lives between the two. It's supposed to be more aggressive than the Joe Barden, but the numbers do not bear out it being as aggressive as the Hot Rails. And just based upon my playing experience, I would agree with that. But what I'm going to do is play blind sound samples with each guitar, and then we'll try to figure out which is which at the end. And I will note as well that, though again, as I've said in another video, though I believe the pickups are far and away the biggest driver of the sound, wood and other components do matter somewhat. So just for the record, this is a poplar body, slightly thinner, maple neck, 6 saddles. This is an, honestly, I don't know, I think a poplar body, maple neck, rosewood fretboard, obviously a maple fretboard on this one, and it is roasted. And poplar body, maple neck and fretboard, 6 saddles, and this is probably going to be the biggest difference acoustically of the three guitars. These are Graphtec saddles that have been on there for over 20 years now, and they do make the guitar, I believe, louder and more resonant acoustically. How much that translates to the sound with the guitar going through an amplifier, we will see. But I know that there will be some people saying that the fact that their pickups aren't going into the same guitar invalidates the test to a degree, if not entirely. And I would say that to a small degree that's true, but generally speaking, the pickups drive the sound. So what I'm going to do is I will strum a few chords, big open chords, with each guitar mic'd acoustically like it was an acoustic guitar. So anyone who believes that they have that level of discernment can apply that to the subsequent blind sound samples. So I'm very excited. Oh, I should also note these all three also happen to be top loaders, so they have that in common. And otherwise, they're pretty much standard Telecaster spec, other than this body being a little bit more thin than the others. So we'll get to getting these guitars mic'd up acoustically. I'll strum a few big open chords, then we'll get into the blind test. This is an SM57, micing each guitar acoustically, and this will not be the order they are in necessarily for the blind samples. And we are back. Before I reveal the results of the blind test, I wanted to say that all those sound samples were mic'd with an SM57, and the EQs were set to about noon on both amps. I was not trying to optimize them for each guitar. I was trying to give a fair basis of comparison. Also, it should be noted all of these guitars have 250K pots. This one had 250K pot stock. I put that pickup in before I knew the difference between 250K and 500K over 20 years ago. And though there are new pots since then, they were 250K as well to maintain the sound I was used to. So that is equal among the three guitars. So with no further ado, guitar A was the Sunburst Telecaster with the Joe Barden Danny Gatton pickup. Guitar B was the Black Telecaster with the Seymour Duncan Hot Rails pickup. Which means, of course, guitar C was the Blue Squire Bullet Telecaster with the DiMarzio Chopper T pickup. So you all heard the sound samples yourself and can derive your own opinions. Personally, I think that they pretty much lined up with what the tech specs would say. I think that the Danny Gatton pickup was definitely the most traditional Telecaster-like. It had the most bite. It was also the thinnest. I hate to say that because that seems like a negative term, but because it was plenty fat, I thought, for a Telecaster pickup. But when you listen to it back to back with this guitar, this one was definitely thicker. And these samples maybe lacked a little bit of bite because typically I would have the treble pushed up much higher for this guitar. I'd probably have it on 7 or 8 as opposed to 5. Because if you look at the EQ chart for this pickup on the Seymour Duncan website, they don't have numbers, but the mid-range is probably up to about 9 out of 10, and the treble's like 4 or 5. But it sounds great with a lot of gain. And this is, and I'll link below my video about this guitar, this is a Seymour Duncan Broadcaster bridge pickup in the neck that gave me the exposed pole piece look many years ago. That was actually in there before this was. And this sounds fantastic, and they balance out really well. So this might be a situation that even though this might have sounded, I thought it sounded really good, maybe could have used a little more bite in these samples, but if you adjusted it accordingly, you can get some tremendous sounds. And of all my guitars, this is still my favorite lead sound, is using this pickup with some gain. And I'll say about the Chopper T, it was about right in the middle. It was fatter than the Danny Gatton, but I didn't think it had quite as much bite, but it wasn't as fat as the Seymour Duncan Hot Rails, but I thought it had a little more bite than that. But I really liked it a lot. Again, it might be the best balance between the two. And I'll say this about the Danny Gatton pickups, which of course I have the neck Danny Gatton pickup in this guitar as well, to complete the Bruce Springsteen look. This pickup, and I believe they even say this on the Danny Gatton website, if you were to decide to get this, I've never had pickups that the sound changed more depending upon the height, and they're designed that way. So you can really get a wide range of sounds just by raising or lowering this pickup. I have this one really close to the strings because I like generally a hotter Telecaster bridge pickup like Bruce, my main hero. But you can lower it to get a little more vintage sound, raise it to get a hotter sound. It's really a fantastic pickup. In terms of retail price, a lot of these depend upon what you're finding on sale. I should have looked. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. I think this goes for about $190. New, the Danny Gatton is the most expensive, and I believe the Hot Rails has gone up recently. I think it's maybe in the range of about $100. And I can tell you the DiMarzio Chopper T very well because I just got it a couple months ago. It was about $90. So I actually really enjoyed this test because as a connoisseur of Telecasters and Telecasters with dual blade pickups, I was curious to see how they would all sound side by side. And of course, like I said in the beginning, the guitars themselves do affect the sound. The pickups are the main drivers of the sound, in my opinion, but the woods, the bridges, the saddles, the nuts, they all, the woods the necks and bodies are made of, do have a subtle effect. But I threw in those acoustic samples for anyone who is that painstaking in their process. Seriously, you can listen to those and see what the fundamental acoustic sounds of these guitars are, and perhaps apply that to your thinking as well. But this was a fun video to make. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Again, I've been playing this guitar for getting close to 22 years. And I've had, obviously this is a new guitar, and I've had this guitar for several years now. So I have a pretty good bit of experience with these types of pickups. I'm very soon hoping to have another kind of single coil sized humbucker to try out for you in a very special guitar, but that will be coming up soon. But so yes, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, keep on rocking.